Chapter 1. Chapter 1. The Nappy Nap. In the previous chapter, Brad had spent an aimless afternoon lounging in his cluttered apartment, surrounded by the remnants of a life that felt both vibrant and stagnant. His friends had urged him to get out, to seize the day, but he had chosen instead to embrace the comfort of his worn-out couch and the flickering glow of the television. As the sun dipped below the horizon, casting long shadows across the room, he had finally succumbed to the pull of sleep, drifting off with dreams of adventure just out of reach. The world outside was a riot of color, the sun pouring golden light through the half-drawn curtains of Brad's apartment. He stirred, blinking against the brightness, the remnants of sleep clinging to him like a warm blanket. The clock on the wall ticked steadily, its rhythmic sound a gentle reminder of the time slipping away. He stretched, limbs heavy and languid, and let out a contented sigh. Ah, the sweet embrace of a nap, he murmured to himself, a goofy grin spreading across his face. He swung his legs over the edge of the couch, feeling the coolness of the wooden floor beneath his feet. The air was thick with the scent of stale pizza and the faint whiff of laundry that had been left unattended for too long. He wrinkled his nose but shrugged it off. Today was a new day, and he was ready to take it on. As he shuffled to the window, the sun's rays poured in, illuminating the dust motes dancing in the air. He pushed the curtains aside, squinting against the brightness. Outside, the street was alive with the sounds of laughter and chatter, the distant hum of cars, and the occasional bark of a dog. It was a perfect day, the kind that beckoned for adventure, yet Brad felt a familiar tug of laziness pulling him back into the depths of his daydreams. Maybe just a few more minutes, he said, half to himself, half to the universe. He plopped back onto the couch, sinking into the cushions as if they were a soft cloud. His mind began to wander, drifting into a realm where the mundane transformed into the extraordinary. In his daydream, he was no longer the quirky, carefree guy lounging in his apartment. Instead, he was the center of attention at a sun-soaked beach party, surrounded by a group of stunning women whose laughter rang like music in the air. They were vibrant and full of life, their hair glistening in the sunlight, their smiles infectious. He could almost hear their voices, teasing and playful, as they splashed water at him, daring him to join in their fun. "Come on, Brad. Don't be such a wuss," one of them called, her voice a melodic blend of challenge and invitation. He could picture her perfectly. Sun-kissed skin, a playful glint in her eye, and a smile that could light up the darkest corners of his imagination. "Yeah, Brad. Show us what you've got." Another chimed in, laughter bubbling around them like the waves crashing on the shore. He felt a rush of adrenaline, the thrill of being desired, of being part of something bigger than himself. But just as he was about to dive into the water, the scene shifted. The laughter faded, replaced by a low, ominous hum that sent a shiver down his spine. The sky darkened, clouds rolling in like a tidal wave, and the vibrant colors of the beach party dulled to shades of gray. The women's faces twisted into expressions of concern, their laughter replaced by whispers of worry. "Brad, are you okay?" one of them asked, her voice now tinged with urgency. "You need to wake up." He jolted awake, heart racing, the remnants of his dream clinging to him like cobwebs. The sunlight still streamed through the window, but the laughter outside had faded into the background noise of the city. He rubbed his eyes, trying to shake off the lingering sense of unease that had crept into his mind. "Just a dream," he muttered, but the words felt hollow. He glanced at the clock again. An hour had passed since he'd first woken up. "What the hell, Brad? Get it together." He stood up, shaking off the remnants of sleep, and padded to the kitchen. The fridge hummed softly, and he opened it, greeted by a sad assortment of leftovers and a half-empty bottle of ketchup. He grabbed a bottle of water instead, the coolness refreshing against his palm. As he took a sip, he caught a glimpse of himself in the reflection of the microwave. A disheveled mess with tousled hair and a 5 o'clock shadow that had crept in during his nap. "Time to clean up," he said, determination creeping into his voice. He set the water down and headed for the bathroom, splashing cold water on his face. The shock of it jolted him fully awake, and he stared at his reflection, searching for the spark of inspiration that had eluded him for so long. "Who are you?" he asked himself, the question hanging in the air like a challenge. "What do you want?" The answer was elusive, slipping through his fingers like sand. He sighed, running a hand through his hair, and turned away from the mirror. Maybe it was time to step outside, to face the world beyond his four walls. He needed to shake off the lethargy that had settled over him like a heavy fog. As he dressed, the familiar sounds of the city filtered through the window. The honking of horns, the distant laughter of children, the rhythmic thump of music from a nearby cafe. Each sound tugged at him, urging him to join the fray, to break free from the cocoon of his apartment. "Okay, Brad. You can do this," he whispered, a mantra to bolster his resolve. He slipped on a pair of sneakers, grabbed his keys, and took a deep breath, steeling himself for whatever awaited him outside. The moment he stepped onto the street, the warmth of the sun enveloped him, a stark contrast to the coolness of his apartment. He squinted against the brightness, taking in the vibrant scene around him. People bustled by, each lost in their own world, yet somehow connected in the shared experience of the day. He walked aimlessly, letting the rhythm of the city guide him. The smell of fresh coffee wafted through the air, mingling with the scent of blooming flowers from a nearby park. He followed his nose, drawn toward the cafe that had become a staple in his routine. As he entered, the bell above the door jingled, and the familiar barista, a young woman with bright blue hair and a nose ring, looked up from behind the counter. "Hey, Brad. The usual?" she asked, a smile breaking across her face. "Yeah, that sounds great, Jess," he replied, feeling a warmth spread through him at her enthusiasm. She was one of the few people who seemed to see him, really see him, beyond the quirky exterior. Chapter 2. The quest begins. Brad awoke with a start, the remnants of his dream still swirling in his mind like the last notes of a forgotten song. The sun streamed through his window, casting warm, golden rays across his room, illuminating the chaos of clothes strewn about and the half-eaten pizza box that had become a permanent fixture on his desk. He rubbed the sleep from his eyes, recalling the laughter of beautiful girls that had danced through his dreams, their voices like music that lingered long after the notes had faded. But the reality of his life was starkly different. He was still the same quirky, carefree guy, stuck in a cycle of laziness and daydreams. Yet, as he sat up, a flicker of determination ignited within him. "Enough is enough," he muttered to himself, the words tasting foreign yet exhilarating on his tongue. He wanted to embark on a quest. A quest to become the best version of himself. But where to begin? The thought of change felt daunting, like standing at the edge of a cliff, peering into the unknown. With a deep breath, Brad swung his legs over the side of the bed, the cool wooden floor sending a shiver up his spine. He glanced at his reflection in the mirror, tousled hair and sleepy eyes staring back at him. "You can do this," he whispered, his voice barely above a whisper. "You just need a plan." As he rummaged through his cluttered room, searching for inspiration, a strange sound caught his attention. A low, rumbling noise that seemed to resonate from outside. Curiosity piqued, he padded over to the window and peered out. To his astonishment, a large, pink elephant stood in the middle of his front yard, its massive ears flapping gently in the breeze. "What the?" Brad blinked, convinced he was still dreaming. But the elephant remained, swaying slightly as if it were waiting for him. "Hey there, sleepyhead," the elephant called, its voice surprisingly cheerful and melodic. "I'm Poka, and I believe you're in need of a little adventure." Brad's mouth fell open, and he rubbed his eyes again, half expecting the creature to vanish. "Did you just talk?" "Of course I did. What kind of elephant do you think I am?" Poka chuckled, a sound that echoed like distant thunder. "Now, are you going to stand there all day, or are you going to join me on a quest?" "A quest?" Brad echoed, his heart racing with a mix of excitement and disbelief. "What kind of quest?" "The kind that will take you to the depths of your soul and beyond," Poka replied, bouncing on her massive feet. "You want to be the best version of yourself, right? Well, I'm here to help you do just that." Brad hesitated, glancing back at his messy room, the remnants of his old life weighing heavily on him. But the allure of adventure tugged at his heart, and he felt a spark of hope igniting within him. "Okay, I'm in," he said, surprising even himself with his boldness. "What do we do first?" "First, we need to gather supplies," Poka exclaimed, her trunk curling with excitement. "We'll need snacks, a map, and maybe a few other things to help us on our journey." Brad nodded, his mind racing with possibilities. "Right. Snacks are essential. Let's hit the kitchen." As they made their way inside, the scent of stale pizza lingered in the air, a reminder of his previous life. Poka's trunk swung around, knocking over a stack of magazines as she rummaged through the pantry. "You really need to clean this place up," she said, her tone teasing yet sincere. "Yeah, I know," Brad admitted, a hint of embarrassment creeping into his cheeks. "I've been meaning to get to it." "Forget about that for now. We're on a quest," Poka declared, triumphantly pulling out a bag of chips and a few granola bars. "These will do nicely. Now, where's your map?" "Map?" Brad scratched his head, trying to recall if he even owned one. "I think I have an old one somewhere. Maybe in my closet." "Let's find it," Poka encouraged, her enthusiasm infectious. Together, they rummaged through the clutter, tossing aside old clothes and forgotten trinkets until Brad finally unearthed a dusty, crumpled map from the back of his closet. "Here it is," he exclaimed, holding it up like a trophy. The map was faded, with lines that crisscrossed in chaotic patterns, marking places he had never been. Poka examined it closely, her eyes sparkling with mischief. "This is perfect. We can chart our course right here. Now, where do you want to go first?" Brad studied the map, his finger tracing the winding paths. "How about the Enchanted Forest? I've heard there are magical creatures there." "Ah, the Enchanted Forest." Poka's voice rose with excitement. "A place of wonder and mystery. But beware, it is not without its challenges. Are you ready for that?" "Ready as I'll ever be," Brad replied, a mix of trepidation and exhilaration coursing through him. "Let's do this." With their supplies gathered and their destination set, Brad and Poka stepped outside, the sun shining brightly overhead. The world felt different somehow, as if the air was charged with possibility. As they walked, Brad couldn't help but steal glances at his unusual companion. Poka was unlike anyone he had ever met. Her vibrant personality and unwavering confidence were infectious, and he felt a sense of camaraderie blossoming between them. "So, Poka," he began, trying to keep the conversation flowing, "how did you end up here?" "In my yard, I mean." "Oh, that's a long story," Poka replied, her eyes twinkling with mischief. "I've traveled far and wide, seeking out those who are ready for adventure. I sensed you needed a little push, and here I am." Brad chuckled, shaking his head in disbelief. A talking elephant who seeks out lost souls. This is definitely not what I expected when I woke up today. Life is full of surprises, my friend. Poca said, her trunk swaying playfully. And sometimes, the best adventures come from the most unexpected places. As they ventured further into the neighborhood, the familiar sights began to fade, replaced by the wild beauty of nature. Trees towered overhead, their leaves whispering secrets in the gentle breeze. The air was rich with the scent of pine and earth, invigorating Brad's senses. He felt alive, each step drawing him closer to the unknown. But as they approached the edge of the enchanted forest, a sense of unease settled in Brad's stomach. The trees loomed like ancient sentinels, their gnarled branches twisting toward the sky. Shadows danced among the underbrush, and the sounds of rustling leaves filled the air. Chapter 3. Curses and Verses. The sun hung low in the sky, casting long shadows across the vibrant landscape as Brad and Poca ambled through the lush, rolling hills. Just hours before, Brad had been lost in a daydream, lulled into a stupor by the warmth of the sun and the gentle rustle of leaves. But now, with the promise of adventure crackling in the air, he felt a renewed sense of purpose. He was determined to become the best version of himself, even if he wasn't quite sure what that meant yet. Poca, the talking elephant with a penchant for mischief, had become an unexpected ally in this quest, and together they were ready to face whatever whimsical challenges lay ahead. "Do you think we'll find the treasure today?" Brad asked, his voice light with anticipation. Poca's large ears flapped as he turned his head, his eyes sparkling with mischief. "Treasure, you say? What kind of treasure do you seek? Gold and jewels, or something unique?" "Maybe a little of both," Brad replied, grinning. "But mostly, I want to find something that makes me feel alive." As they wandered deeper into the heart of the enchanted forest, the air thickened with the scent of wildflowers and damp earth. The trees loomed tall and ancient, their gnarled branches twisting like the thoughts in Brad's mind. He felt a strange mix of excitement and trepidation, as if the forest itself was alive and watching them. Suddenly, a soft giggle echoed through the trees, causing Brad to stop in his tracks. "Did you hear that?" he whispered, glancing at Poca, who had perked up, his trunk raised in curiosity. "Indeed, I did," Poca replied, his voice low and cautious. "It sounds like trouble, or perhaps a trickster at play." Before Brad could respond, a figure darted between the trees, cloaked in shadows and laughter. A moment later, a woman emerged, her wild hair cascading around her shoulders like a waterfall of leaves. She wore a dress made of petals and vines, and her eyes sparkled with mischief. "Welcome, welcome," she sang, her voice lilting like a melody. "I am the Witch of Whimsy, and you, dear travelers, have stumbled into my domain." Brad exchanged a glance with Poca, who shifted nervously. Hi there. "We're just passing through," Brad said, trying to keep his tone light. "No harm meant." "Oh, but harm is not what I seek," the witch replied, her laughter ringing like chimes in the wind. "I have a little game for you, a challenge to test your wits and your hearts." "What kind of game?" Poca asked, his voice tinged with caution. "A simple one, really," the witch said, her eyes narrowing playfully. "If you can solve my riddle, I shall grant you a boon. But if you fail, you will be cursed to speak only in rhymes until the end of your days." Brad's heart raced. "A riddle. We can handle that, right, Poca?" "Perhaps," Poca replied, his brow furrowing. "But I do not like the sound of this curse." "Fear not, dear friends," the witch chimed, spinning in a circle. "Here is your riddle. In the morning, I am born anew, with colors bright and skies of blue. But when the sun begins to set, I fade away, and you'll forget. What am I?" Brad's mind raced as he pondered the words. Okay. It is something that changes with the time of day. Maybe. A flower. The witch clapped her hands, her laughter echoing through the trees. Close, but not quite. Think broader, my dear boy. Poca leaned in, his trunk brushing against Brad's shoulder. What about the sky? It changes colors with the sun. The sky. Brad exclaimed, his face lighting up. That's it. The answer is the sky. The witch's laughter faded, replaced by a contemplative silence. Ah, clever indeed. But alas, you have failed to grasp the essence of my riddle. The answer is a day. Before Brad could protest, the witch waved her hands, and a shimmering light enveloped them. Now, dear friends, you shall speak in rhymes, a curse that will complicate your quest. What? No, Brad shouted, but the words tumbled from his lips in a sing-song rhythm. This is not what I had in mind, to speak in rhymes, I'm in a bind. Poca's eyes widened, his trunk flailing in confusion. This is quite absurd. What a strange curse, to speak in verses, oh, how it'll worsen. The witch giggled, her eyes dancing with delight. Now off you go, my rhyming friends. Your journey awaits, and the fun never ends. As the witch vanished into the trees, Brad and Poca exchanged bewildered glances. What do we do now? Brad asked, frustration bubbling beneath the surface. We must find a way to break this curse, before our lives become a rhyming verse. Poca replied, his voice tinged with urgency. Right. Let's keep moving, Brad said, determination flooding his veins. We'll figure this out, I promise. They set off through the forest, the vibrant colors around them seeming to pulse with life. The trees whispered secrets, and the wind carried the scent of adventure. But as they walked, the weight of their predicament settled heavily on Brad's shoulders. Speaking in rhymes was not just a nuisance. It was a barrier to genuine connection, a wall between him and the world he wanted to embrace. Do you think we'll find someone who can help? Brad asked, his voice tinged with uncertainty. Perhaps a sage or a wise old beast, who can break this curse and grant us peace, Poca replied, his tone hopeful yet cautious. As they ventured deeper into the forest, they encountered a series of odd characters. A grumpy squirrel who spoke in riddles, a flamboyant peacock who recited poetry, and a wise old owl who offered cryptic advice. Each interaction was a test of patience and creativity, as Brad struggled to articulate his thoughts in the confines of rhyme. Why must this be so hard? He lamented, frustration bubbling to the surface. I just want to be free, to speak my mind, not trapped in this verse, feeling confined. Poca nudged him gently with his trunk. Stay strong, my friend. We'll find a way to break this curse and seize the day. As they continued their journey, Brad felt a growing sense of camaraderie with Poca. The elephant's unwavering support and humor provided a much-needed anchor amidst the chaos of their situation. But beneath the surface, Brad couldn't shake the feeling that their quest was about more than just breaking a curse. It was about discovering who he is. Chapter 4. The Elephant's Secret. Brad and Poca had barely begun to grasp the whimsical nature of their journey when they found themselves entangled in a curse that forced them to speak in rhymes. The witch's laughter echoed in their minds, a haunting reminder of the challenge they faced. As they wandered through the vibrant landscape, filled with colors that seemed to dance in the sunlight, Brad felt a flicker of hope. He had resolved to become the best version of himself, and with Poca by his side, he believed they could overcome any obstacle. Even a curse. But little did they know, the key to breaking their spell lay hidden within Poca himself, waiting to be revealed. The sun hung low in the sky, casting a golden hue over the meadow where Brad and Poca had set up camp for the night. The air was thick with the sweet scent of blooming wildflowers, and the distant sound of a babbling brook provided a soothing backdrop to their thoughts. Brad leaned back against a tree, his eyes half closed as he listened to Polka shuffle around, rummaging through their meager supplies. "Hey, Polka," Brad called, his voice still tinged with the remnants of their rhyming curse. "What's the plan for tomorrow? We need to find a way to break this spell." Polka turned, his large ears flapping slightly as he perked up. "A plan, you say? A plan, I'll make. But first, dear Brad, there's something at stake." He paused, his trunk curling playfully as he added, "A talent of mine, I've kept from your sight. A dance that could dazzle, a true delight." Brad raised an eyebrow, intrigued. "You can dance? An elephant dancing? That's hard to believe." With a flourish, Polka struck a pose, his massive feet tapping rhythmically against the ground. "Oh yes, my friend. A sight to behold. With grace and with flair, my story unfolds." He began to sway, his body moving with an unexpected elegance, as if the very earth beneath him had come alive with music. Brad couldn't help but laugh, the sound bubbling up from his chest. "You're serious? You can really dance?" "Indeed, I can. And soon you'll see, for tomorrow we'll enter a contest, just you and me." Polka's eyes sparkled with excitement, and Brad felt a rush of adrenaline at the thought of a dance-off. "A contest? What kind of contest?" he asked, leaning forward, curiosity piqued. "A dance-off, my friend, where the best take the prize. A magical item that can open your eyes." Polka's voice was filled with enthusiasm, and Brad felt a spark of hope ignite within him. "We'll win the charm that can break our curse. But first, we must practice, or it'll be the worst." Brad's heart raced. "All right, let's do it. Show me what you've got, Polka." With a dramatic flourish, Polka began to dance, his movements surprisingly fluid for such a large creature. He twirled and spun, his trunk swaying gracefully as he moved. Brad watched in awe, the laughter bubbling up again as Polka attempted a particularly ambitious leap, only to land with a thud that sent a cloud of dust into the air. "Careful there, big guy." Brad chuckled, wiping tears of laughter from his eyes. "You might scare the flowers away." Polka chuckled, his laughter deep and rumbling. "Fear not, dear Brad. I'll dance with finesse. With practice and patience, I'll surely impress." As the sun dipped below the horizon, casting long shadows across the meadow, Brad felt a sense of camaraderie growing between them. They were an odd pair, a carefree guy and a dancing elephant, but somehow, it felt right. "Let's practice then," Brad said, determination settling in his chest. "We'll show them what we've got." Dash dash dash. The next morning dawned bright and clear, the air crisp with the promise of adventure. Brad and Polka set off toward the village where the dance-off was to be held, their spirits high despite the lingering weight of the curse. The path wound through a forest alive with the sounds of chirping birds and rustling leaves, and Brad felt a sense of purpose guiding them forward. As they approached the village, the atmosphere shifted. Colorful banners fluttered in the breeze, and the sound of music filled the air, a lively melody that beckoned them closer. The village square was bustling with activity, filled with odd characters who danced and twirled, their laughter ringing out like bells. "Look at all of them!" Brad exclaimed, his eyes wide with wonder. "This is amazing." Polka nodded, his trunk swaying with excitement. "A lively crowd, indeed. But we must not delay, for soon we'll compete, and we'll dance the day." They made their way to the center of the square, where a makeshift stage had been set up. A sign hung above it, reading "Annual Dance-Off. Win the magical charm." The crowd was thick with anticipation, and Brad felt a flutter of nerves in his stomach. "Are you ready for this?" he asked Polka, who was busy stretching his legs. Ready as I'll ever be. Just follow my lead, and together we'll shine like a star, indeed. Poca replied, his confidence infectious. As they waited for their turn, Brad scanned the crowd, taking in the eclectic mix of participants. There were nimble fairies flitting about, a pair of grumpy trolls who seemed to be arguing over their dance moves, and a flamboyant peacock who strutted around, flaunting his feathers. Looks like we've got some stiff competition, Brad muttered, his heart racing. What if we mess up? Fear not, dear friend. Just dance from the heart. With rhythm and joy, we'll surely take part. Poca reassured him, his eyes twinkling with mischief. Finally, their names were called, and the crowd erupted into cheers. Brad felt a rush of adrenaline as they stepped onto the stage, the sun shining down on them like a spotlight. Let's show them what we've got. Brad shouted, his voice filled with determination. Poca nodded, and as the music began to play, he launched into a series of impressive moves. Brad followed his lead, feeling the rhythm pulse through him. They danced together, their movements synchronized in a way that felt almost magical. But just as they began to find their groove, a rival duo stepped onto the stage. A pair of sleek, agile foxes with a flair for the dramatic. They eyed Brad and Poca with a mix of amusement and disdain, clearly underestimating their abilities. Look at the elephant and his human friend. This will be a joke, I can't pretend. One of the foxes sneered, her voice dripping with sarcasm. Brad's heart sank, but Poca's trunk curled defiantly. Let them mock, let them jeer. We'll show them our dance, and we'll persevere. Chapter 5. Chapter 5. The Heart of the Matter. As the echoes of laughter faded from the dance-off, Brad felt a strange mix of exhilaration and exhaustion. The vibrant colors of the carnival swirled around him, a kaleidoscope of sights and sounds that seemed to pulse with life. Poca, his unlikely companion, had just dazzled the crowd with his unexpected dance talent, and for a moment, it felt as if they could conquer anything together. Yet, beneath the surface of their triumph, a nagging uncertainty lingered. The witch's curse still loomed over them, and the weight of their quest pressed heavily on Brad's shoulders. Did you see their faces? Poca trumpeted, his eyes sparkling with delight. We danced like the stars were watching. Brad chuckled, the sound bubbling up from a place of genuine joy. You were incredible, Poca. I didn't know you had it in you. Neither did I, Poca replied, his trunk swaying with enthusiasm. But we did it together, didn't we? Teamwork makes the dream work. Brad nodded, feeling a warmth spread through him. The bond between them had deepened in ways he hadn't anticipated. But as the crowd began to disperse, the reality of their situation settled back in. They still needed to break the curse, and the magical item they had won was only a stepping stone. Hey, Poca, Brad said, his voice dropping to a more serious tone. What do you think we should do next? We can't just keep dancing our way through life. Poca's expression shifted, his playful demeanor giving way to a thoughtful frown. You're right. We need to find the witch again. She must have a reason for cursing us. Maybe if we understand her, we can break the spell. Brad sighed, the weight of uncertainty pressing down on him. But what if she doesn't want to talk? What if she just wants to keep us trapped in this rhyme? Then we'll have to convince her otherwise, Poca replied, determination shining in his eyes. We've come this far, haven't we? We can't give up now. With a newfound sense of purpose, Brad took a deep breath and nodded. Okay, let's do it. But first, we should find a place to rest. I could use a moment to think. As they wandered through the carnival, the vibrant atmosphere began to fade into the background. The laughter and music became a distant hum, replaced by the rustling of leaves and the soft crunch of gravel beneath their feet. They found a quiet spot beneath a sprawling oak tree, its branches swaying gently in the breeze. "Do you ever wonder why we're on this quest?" Brad asked, leaning back against the rough bark. "I mean, it feels like we're just stumbling from one challenge to the next." Poca settled beside him, his large frame casting a comforting shadow. "I think it is more than just breaking a curse. It's about discovering who we are, what we're made of. You're learning to embrace your quirks, and I'm finding my rhythm." Brad smiled, the warmth of Poca's words wrapping around him like a cozy blanket. "You're right. I've always felt like I was just floating through life, never really knowing what I wanted. But now, with you by my side, I feel like I'm actually moving forward." "Exactly," Poca exclaimed, his enthusiasm infectious. "And friendship is a big part of that. We're not alone in this. We have each other." Just then, a rustle in the bushes caught their attention. Brad's heart raced as he turned to see a group of quirky characters emerge from the foliage. There were 3 of them. A tall, lanky man with a top hat and a monocle, a woman with wild, colorful hair and a paint-splattered apron, and a small, round creature that resembled a walking mushroom. "Ah, what do we have here?" the man in the top hat said, his voice dripping with theatrical flair. "2 brave souls resting beneath the mighty oak. How delightful. Who are you?" Brad asked, curiosity piqued. "I am Sir Reginald, the illustrious inventor," the man declared, bowing dramatically. "And these are my companions, the brilliant artist Flora and the wise sage Fungi." Flora waved, her hands stained with paint. "We couldn't help but overhear your conversation about quests and curses. Sounds like quite the adventure." Fungi, the mushroom-like creature, nodded sagely. "Every quest has its lessons, my friends. What you seek may not be what you expect." Brad exchanged a glance with Poca, both intrigued and wary. "What do you mean?" "Friendship, self-acceptance, and the courage to face your fears," Sir Reginald said, his eyes gleaming with mischief. "Those are the true treasures of any journey." Poca leaned forward, his ears perked up. "Do you know how we can break the witch's curse?" Flora grinned, her colorful hair bouncing as she spoke. "Ah, the witch. A fascinating character, indeed. She's not just a spellcaster. She's a storyteller. To understand her, you must first understand yourselves." Brad felt a knot tighten in his stomach. "What do you mean by that?" "Every curse has a root," Fungi explained, his voice low and melodic. "You must confront your own fears and insecurities. Only then can you hope to break the spell." Brad's heart raced as he considered the implications. "But how do we do that?" "By sharing your truths," Sir Reginald said, his tone suddenly serious. "Open your hearts to each other. Vulnerability is the key to understanding." Poca looked at Brad, his eyes wide with concern. "Are you ready for that?" Brad hesitated, the weight of his own insecurities pressing down on him. "I don't know. What if I say something that changes everything?" "Then it changes everything," Flora said gently. "But that's part of the journey. You can't move forward without facing what's inside." Taking a deep breath, Brad felt a flicker of determination ignite within him. "Okay. I'll go first." Poca nodded, his expression encouraging. "I'm here for you, buddy. I've always felt like I was just drifting," Brad began, his voice trembling slightly. "Like I didn't really belong anywhere. I've spent so much time trying to fit in, to be what others expect of me. But I don't even know who I am anymore." The silence that followed felt heavy, as if the world had paused to listen. Poca shifted closer, his presence a comforting anchor. "You're not alone in that, Brad. I've struggled with my own identity too. Being a dancing elephant isn't exactly normal." Brad chuckled softly, the tension easing just a bit. "Yeah, but you own it. You're amazing, Poca." "Thanks," Polka said, his eyes shining with gratitude. Chapter 6. Chapter 6. The Great Pie Bake-Off. The sun hung high in the sky, casting a warm glow over the whimsical town of Whimsy Hollow. Brad and Polka stood at the entrance of the local community center, the scent of cinnamon and sugar wafting through the air, mingling with the laughter of children and the chatter of excited adults. Just days ago, they had been navigating the challenges of a whimsical world, cursed to speak in rhymes and facing off in a dance-off that had tested their friendship. Now, they were about to embark on a new adventure. A pie baking contest to raise funds for the local animal shelter. "Are you ready for this, my friend?" Polka asked, his trunk swaying with enthusiasm. His large, expressive eyes sparkled with a mix of excitement and mischief. Brad adjusted his apron, a bright blue fabric adorned with cartoonish pies. "Ready as I'll ever be. Let's show them what we've got." He felt a surge of determination, a flicker of the self-confidence he had been searching for since embarking on this journey. As they entered the bustling kitchen, the atmosphere buzzed with energy. Chefs in crisp white uniforms darted around, wielding whisks and rolling pins like swords. The air was thick with the aroma of baked goods, and the sound of clattering pans echoed off the walls. Brad's heart raced, not just from the excitement but from the pressure of competing against seasoned bakers. "Look at that team over there," Polka whispered, nodding toward a group of culinary experts who were already setting up their station. They wore matching chef hats and had an array of professional tools at their disposal. "They look serious." Brad squinted at them, taking in their confident demeanor. "Yeah, but we have something they don't. Our charm and creativity." He grinned, trying to mask his growing anxiety. "And a talking elephant, of course." Polka chuckled, his laughter echoing through the kitchen. "Let's get to work then. What's our secret ingredient?" Brad rummaged through the supplies laid out on the counter. "How about we use some of that magical fruit we found in the enchanted orchard? The one that glows." "Great idea." Polka's trunk curled in excitement. "Let's make a pie that will knock their socks off." As they began to prepare their ingredients, the competitive atmosphere intensified. The expert bakers were already mixing their dough with precision, while Brad and Polka fumbled with flour and sugar, creating a cloud of white dust that settled over them like a soft blanket. "Oops!" Brad exclaimed, brushing flour off his nose. "I think I'm more of a pie-eating contestant than a pie-baking one." Polka laughed, his body shaking with mirth. "Don't worry, my friend. We'll figure this out together. Just remember, it is about having fun." With renewed determination, they set to work. Brad rolled out the dough, while Polka expertly chopped the magical fruit, its vibrant colors shimmering under the kitchen lights. The fruit had a sweet, tangy aroma that filled the air, invigorating their spirits. "Do you think we should add a little bit of cinnamon?" Brad suggested, glancing at the spice rack. "Absolutely. A pinch of magic and a dash of love," Polka replied, his trunk playfully flicking a sprinkle of cinnamon into the bowl. As they mixed their ingredients, the laughter and chatter of the other contestants faded into the background. It was just the two of them, lost in their own world of creativity and camaraderie. But as the clock ticked down, the pressure mounted. 10 minutes left. The announcer called, sending a wave of panic through the kitchen. "Quick, we need to get this in the oven," Brad shouted, his heart racing. They hurriedly poured their mixture into the crust, the vibrant colors swirling together like a sunset. Polka carefully placed the pie in the oven, and they both stood back, watching as the timer counted down. "Do you think it will be good enough?" Brad asked, biting his lip. Polka nudged him with his trunk. "It will be perfect. Just believe in yourself, Brad." As the timer buzzed, they pulled the pie from the oven, its golden crust glistening and the filling bubbling with a magical glow. The moment they set it on the counter, a strange energy filled the air, and the pie began to shimmer, drawing the attention of everyone in the kitchen. "Is that?" one of the expert bakers murmured, eyes wide with disbelief. "It's glowing," another exclaimed, stepping closer to inspect their creation. Brad and Polka exchanged bewildered glances. "Did we just make a magical pie?" Brad whispered, a mix of awe and excitement coursing through him. Before they could celebrate, the announcer called for the contestants to present their pies. The expert team strutted forward, their pie perfectly crafted and decorated with intricate designs. The judges nodded appreciatively, but Brad felt a surge of confidence as he and Polka approached the front. "Presenting our magical whimsy pie," Brad announced, his voice ringing with enthusiasm. The judges leaned in, their expressions shifting from skepticism to intrigue as they beheld the glowing pie. "Is that?" one judge began, reaching out to touch the shimmering surface. "Careful," Polka warned, his voice rising in alarm. "It's magical." The moment the judge's fingers brushed against the pie, a burst of sparkles erupted, filling the air with a dazzling display. Gasps echoed through the kitchen as the judges stumbled back, their eyes wide with astonishment. "What just happened?" Brad asked, his heart racing. "I think we've created something extraordinary," Polka exclaimed, his excitement palpable. The crowd began to murmur, drawn to the spectacle. People gathered around, their eyes glued to the glowing pie, captivated by its enchanting aura. "Ladies and gentlemen, we have a surprise contestant," the announcer declared, his voice booming over the crowd. "It seems our friends have brought a magical twist to the bake-off." As the judges regained their composure, they approached the pie with a mix of curiosity and caution. "We've never seen anything like this before," one judge said, his voice trembling with excitement. "What's your secret?" Brad exchanged a glance with Polka, a mischievous grin spreading across his face. "Well, we might have used some enchanted fruit from the enchanted orchard," he admitted, his heart pounding with exhilaration. The judges exchanged glances, their expressions shifting from skepticism to intrigue. "This could change everything," another judge murmured, a glimmer of excitement in his eyes. As they took their first bites, the kitchen fell silent. The judges' eyes widened, and a chorus of filled the air. "This is incredible," one judge exclaimed, his voice filled with awe. "The flavors are unlike anything we've ever tasted." Brad's heart soared. They had done it. They had created something truly magical. But just as they began to celebrate. Chapter 7. The Return of the Witch. In the previous chapter, Brad and Polka found themselves in the midst of a chaotic pie-baking contest, where their culinary skills were put to the test against a team of seasoned experts. Amidst flour clouds and frantic whisking, they accidentally created a magical pie that drew the attention of the whimsical townsfolk. Just as they began to celebrate their unexpected success, the air shimmered with a familiar energy, heralding the return of the witch who had cursed them to speak in rhymes. With her arrival, the stakes of their quest to break the spell had just escalated. The sun hung low in the sky, casting a golden hue over the bustling town square, where laughter and chatter filled the air. Brad stood beside Polka, their magical pie resting on a makeshift table, its crust glistening with an otherworldly sheen. The townsfolk, still buzzing from the contest, had gathered around, their eyes wide with curiosity and delight. But amidst the jovial atmosphere, a chill crept in, as if the very air had thickened with anticipation. "Do you feel that?" Brad asked, glancing at Polka, who was swaying slightly, his trunk twitching nervously. "Indeed, I do," Polka replied, his voice a low rumble. "It's as if the wind carries whispers of old spells." Before Brad could respond, a familiar figure emerged from the crowd, her silhouette framed by the fading light. The witch, with her wild hair and piercing gaze, approached with an air of confidence that sent a ripple of unease through the gathering. The townsfolk parted for her, their expressions a mix of awe and apprehension. "Ah, my dear friends," she said, her voice smooth like honey, yet laced with an edge of mischief. "I see you've been busy baking." Brad's heart raced as he met her gaze. "What do you want?" he blurted, the words escaping before he could temper them with politeness. The witch smiled, a glint of amusement dancing in her eyes. "I come not to cause trouble, but to offer a proposition. That delightful pie of yours has piqued my interest. I would like a slice, and in return, I shall lift the curse that binds you." Poca shifted uneasily, his ears flapping as he whispered to Brad, "Can we trust her? She's the one who cursed us in the first place." Brad's mind raced. The prospect of breaking the curse was tantalizing, yet the witch's history loomed over them like a dark cloud. "What's the catch?" he asked, trying to keep his voice steady. "Ah, my dear boy," she replied, her tone playful yet enigmatic. "There is no catch, only a simple exchange. A slice of that magical pie for your freedom from rhyme." The townsfolk murmured among themselves, their curiosity piqued. Brad could feel their eyes on him, waiting for his decision. He glanced at Poca, who looked back with a mix of hope and skepticism. "What do you think?" Brad asked, lowering his voice. "Should we take the risk?" Poca's trunk curled thoughtfully. "We've come this far, Brad. But remember, the witch's motives are often shrouded in mystery. We must tread carefully." The witch, sensing their hesitation, leaned closer, her eyes narrowing. "You think me untrustworthy? Perhaps you should consider my offer more carefully. After all, you've tasted the power of that pie. Would you not want to experience it fully?" Brad's stomach twisted at the thought. The pie had brought them unexpected joy, but it had also drawn the witch back into their lives. "What if we refuse?" he asked, his voice barely above a whisper. "Then you remain bound by my curse," she replied, her smile fading slightly. "And I shall take my leave, leaving you to ponder what could have been." A heavy silence enveloped them, the weight of the decision pressing down like a storm cloud. Brad could feel the tension in the air, thick and electric. He glanced at the pie, its surface shimmering with an enticing glow, and then back at the witch, whose expression had shifted from playful to serious. "Let me tell you a story," she said, her voice dropping to a conspiratorial whisper. "Once, I was not the witch you see before you. I was a healer, a protector of the forest, beloved by the townsfolk. But jealousy and fear turned them against me, and in their rage, they cast me out. I became what they made me, a witch." Brad's heart softened at her words, the vulnerability in her voice striking a chord deep within him. "What happened?" he asked, genuinely intrigued. The witch's gaze drifted to the horizon, her expression distant. "I wandered the woods, learning the secrets of magic, but I never forgot the betrayal. I sought power, not for revenge, but to protect myself from further harm. And in my quest, I lost sight of who I once was." Poca shifted beside him, his eyes wide. "That's tragic," he murmured, his empathy shining through. "But it doesn't excuse what you did to us." "True," the witch admitted, her voice tinged with regret. "But perhaps you can help me find redemption. If you trust me, I can show you the way to break not just your curse, but to heal the rift between us." Brad felt a flicker of hope igniting within him. "What do you mean?" "Magic is not just about spells and potions," she explained, her tone earnest. "It's about connection, understanding, and forgiveness. If you share that pie with me, we can forge a new bond, one that transcends the past." Poca's ears perked up, his curiosity piqued. "But how do we know you won't just take the pie and leave us cursed?" The witch's expression softened, a hint of sincerity breaking through her mischievous facade. You have my word. I may be a witch, but I am not without honor. I seek to mend what has been broken. Brad's heart raced as he weighed her words. The idea of breaking the curse was tantalizing, but could he truly trust her? He glanced at Polka, who seemed to be considering the witch's offer as well. Let's think about it, Brad said, trying to buy some time. We need to discuss this. Of course, the witch replied, her smile returning. I shall wait. But remember, time is of the essence. The magic of that pie won't last forever. As she stepped back, the townsfolk resumed their chatter, casting curious glances at the trio. Brad felt the weight of their expectations pressing down on him. He turned to Polka, who was deep in thought. What do you think? Brad asked, his voice low. Can we trust her? Polka's trunk swayed thoughtfully. I sense a conflict within her, Brad. She's not just a villain. There's more to her story. But we must be cautious. Chapter 8. Chapter 8. The final showdown. The sun hung low in the sky, casting long shadows across the vibrant landscape of Whimsy Woods. Brad and Polka stood at the edge of a clearing, their hearts racing with anticipation. Just moments ago, they had learned that their rivals from the dance-off, the flamboyant duo known as the Twinkle Toes, were plotting against them. The air crackled with tension, and the scent of freshly baked pies wafted through the trees, a reminder of their recent culinary escapade. Are you ready for this, Polka? Brad asked, his voice a mix of excitement and trepidation. Polka, the talking elephant with a penchant for rhythm, nodded vigorously. Ready as a pie in a baking spree. Let's show them what we've got, you and me. With a shared glance of determination, they stepped into the clearing, where the Twinkle Toes awaited, their vibrant costumes shimmering in the fading light. Brad's heart raced as he caught sight of their rivals, who were busy rehearsing a routine that seemed to defy gravity. Look who decided to show up, chirped Tilly, the more flamboyant of the duo, her voice dripping with mockery. Did you bring your dancing shoes, or are you still wearing those clunky boots? Clunky boots are in this season. Brad shot back, trying to muster confidence. Besides, we're here for more than just a dance-off. We've got a score to settle. Score, chimed in her partner, Benny, who was busy stretching his limbs like a rubber band. Oh, sweetie, this isn't about scores. It's about style, and you two are about as stylish as a potato sack. As the banter escalated, Brad felt a surge of adrenaline. He glanced at Polka, who was already swaying side to side, his massive body radiating energy. Let's give them a show they won't forget, Brad whispered, and Polka trumpeted in agreement. The clearing transformed into an arena, the trees standing as silent witnesses to the impending chaos. The Twinkle Toes took their positions, and with a dramatic flourish, they launched into an intricate dance routine, their movements fluid and mesmerizing. Show off, Brad muttered under his breath, but he couldn't deny the thrill of the performance. Let's do this, Polka exclaimed, and with a deep breath, they began their own routine, a mix of clumsy yet endearing moves that showcased their unique bond. The rhythm of their hearts synchronized as they danced, laughter bubbling up between them. The Twinkle Toes, taken aback by their unexpected charm, faltered for a moment. What is this? A circus act? Tilly scoffed, but Brad could see the flicker of uncertainty in her eyes. More like a dance party, Brad replied, spinning around and pulling Polka into a twirl. The elephant's massive feet stomped in time with the beat, creating a rhythm that resonated through the ground. As the dance-off intensified, the atmosphere shifted. The playful competition morphed into a chaotic showdown, with pies flying through the air like colorful projectiles. It all began when Polka, in a moment of sheer exuberance, accidentally knocked over a table laden with pies, sending them soaring toward the Twinkle Toes. "Pie fight!" Benny shouted, ducking just in time as a blueberry pie splattered against a tree. "Watch out!" Tilly shrieked, but it was too late. A cherry pie hit her square in the face, and the clearing erupted into laughter. "Now that's what I call a sweet surprise." Brad laughed, his spirits lifted by the absurdity of the moment. Polka, seizing the opportunity, grabbed a pie and hurled it toward Benny, who was too busy wiping cherry filling from his eyes to notice. The pie hit him squarely in the chest, and he stumbled back, laughter bubbling from his lips. Okay, truce," Benny called out, holding up his hands, now covered in whipped cream. "This is getting out of hand." "Truce," Tilly echoed, her voice muffled by the remnants of pie. "What do you mean? We're just getting started." But as the laughter continued, something shifted in the air. The playful rivalry began to dissolve, replaced by an unexpected camaraderie. Brad caught a glimpse of the Twinkle Toes' true selves beneath their flamboyant exteriors. "Hey, wait a minute," Brad said, wiping pie filling from his own face. "Why are we fighting? We're all in this together, right? We're just trying to break a curse." Tilly paused, her eyes softening. "You're right. We've been so caught up in our rivalry that we forgot why we're really here." Benny nodded, his expression turning serious. "We love animals too, you know. We were just trying to raise money for the shelter, like you." Brad's heart swelled with understanding. "Then let's join forces. We can work together to break the curse and help the animals." Polka trumpeted in agreement, and the Twinkle Toes exchanged glances, their competitive spirits giving way to a shared purpose. "All right, let's do it," Tilly exclaimed, her voice filled with newfound enthusiasm. "But first, one last dance-off for old time's sake." With laughter echoing through the woods, they formed a circle, each taking turns to showcase their best moves. The clearing transformed into a vibrant dance party, filled with joy and camaraderie. As the sun dipped below the horizon, casting a golden glow over the scene, Brad felt a sense of belonging wash over him. The chaos of the day had brought them closer, and he realized that friendship could blossom in the most unexpected places. "Now that we're a team," Benny said, catching his breath, "what's the plan to break the curse?" Brad glanced at Polka, who was still swaying to the rhythm of the evening. "We need to find the witch again. She's the key to lifting this curse. Let's go find her," Tilly said, her eyes sparkling with determination. "Together, we can do anything." As they set off into the twilight, the camaraderie between them felt electric, a bond forged through laughter, chaos, and the promise of adventure. The scent of pie lingered in the air, a sweet reminder of their journey, and Brad couldn't help but smile. But as they ventured deeper into the woods, a shadow loomed ahead, a figure cloaked in darkness. The witch stood before them, her eyes glinting with mischief. "Did you think you could escape me that easily?" she cackled, her voice echoing through the trees. Brad's heart raced as he exchanged worried glances with Polka and their new friends. The final showdown was upon them, and the stakes had never been higher. "Together," he shouted, rallying his newfound allies. "We can face her." Chapter 9. A new beginning. The sun hung low in the sky, casting a warm golden hue over the whimsical landscape that had become Brad and Polka's home away from home. Just days ago, they had been bound by a curse, their words twisted into rhymes that made every conversation a challenge. But now, with the witch's spell lifted, they stood on the precipice of a new chapter in their lives, the weight of their journey behind them and the promise of the future ahead. Brad stretched his arms wide, feeling the gentle breeze ruffle his hair. "Can you believe it, Polka? We're free. No more rhymes, no more curses. His voice was buoyant, filled with the kind of joy that only comes from overcoming a great obstacle. Poca, the vibrant elephant with a penchant for dance, nodded enthusiastically. Indeed, my friend. The world is ours to explore, and our hearts are light as a feather. He twirled in a circle, his massive feet thumping against the ground in a rhythm that echoed their shared excitement. As they wandered through the vibrant village, the memories of their adventures flooded back. Each challenge, each laugh, and each lesson learned. They had faced rivalries, culinary disasters, and even a dance-off that had tested their friendship in ways they never expected. But now, with the curse behind them, they felt a sense of purpose blooming within. "Let's do something good with our newfound freedom," Brad suggested, his eyes sparkling with determination. "We've met so many amazing people along the way. We should give back to the community that welcomed us." Poca's ears perked up, and he trumpeted softly. "A splendid idea. We could organize a charity event. Perhaps a festival to raise funds for the animal shelter we visited." Brad's heart raced at the thought. Yes. A festival. We can invite everyone we've met. Those quirky characters, the rival duo, even the witch if she's willing to join. It'll be a celebration of friendship and community. The duo set off to gather their friends, their spirits high as they envisioned the festival. The streets were alive with color, laughter, and the sweet scent of baked goods wafting through the air. They passed by the bakery where they had once competed in the pie baking contest, the memories still fresh in their minds. "Remember when we thought we'd never win?" Brad chuckled, nudging Poca playfully. "And then our pie turned out to be magical." Poca laughed, a sound that resonated like a gentle melody. "How could I forget? The way it attracted all those animals was nothing short of miraculous. We should definitely bake again for the festival." As they approached the town square, they were greeted by familiar faces. The rival duo, now allies, were setting up colorful banners, their competitive spirits transformed into a shared enthusiasm for the upcoming event. "Hey, you two," called out Lila, the fiery-haired dancer who had once been their fiercest competitor. "We were just talking about you. Ready to make this festival unforgettable?" Brad grinned, feeling a rush of camaraderie. "Absolutely. We want to raise as much money as possible for the shelter." "What do you think we should do? Games, food stalls, maybe even a talent show?" chimed in Max, Lila's partner, his eyes sparkling with ideas. "We can showcase everyone's talents. Dancing, singing, baking. It'll be a blast." Poca's trunk swayed with excitement. "And we can have a dance-off. But this time, it'll be for fun, not rivalry." As they brainstormed, the air filled with laughter and the sounds of clattering decorations. Brad felt a warmth spread through him, a sense of belonging that he had longed for. This was more than just a festival. It was a celebration of their journey, their friendships, and the lessons they had learned along the way. As the sun dipped lower, casting long shadows across the square, Brad found a moment to step aside. He leaned against a wooden post, watching the flurry of activity around him. The laughter of his friends echoed in his ears, and he felt a swell of gratitude. "Hey, Poca," he called, motioning for his friend to join him. "Can you believe how far we've come? Just a few weeks ago, we were lost and confused, and now look at us." Poca ambled over, his large frame casting a shadow beside Brad. "It's remarkable, isn't it? We've grown so much." "You've grown, Brad. You're not just the carefree guy who took a nap anymore. You've become a leader, someone who cares deeply for others." Brad felt a flush of warmth at the compliment. "I couldn't have done it without you, Poca. You've been my rock. I never would have had the courage to step out of my comfort zone without your support." Polka's eyes twinkled with sincerity. And you've shown me the value of friendship. Together, we can achieve anything. Just then, Lila and Max approached, their arms laden with colorful streamers and balloons. All right, you two lovebirds, enough with the mushy stuff. We need your help with the decorations. Lila teased, a playful grin on her face. Brad laughed, shaking off the moment of introspection. Right. Let's make this festival the best it can be. As the evening wore on, the square transformed into a vibrant tapestry of colors and sounds. Laughter mingled with the sweet aroma of baked goods, and the music of cheerful melodies filled the air. Brad and Polka worked tirelessly alongside their friends, hanging banners and setting up stalls, their hearts swelling with anticipation. As night fell, the festival was ready to begin. The townsfolk gathered, their faces illuminated by the soft glow of lanterns strung overhead. Brad stood at the center of the square, a microphone in hand, his heart racing with excitement and nerves. Welcome, everyone, he called out, his voice echoing through the crowd. Thank you for joining us tonight. We're here to celebrate our community and raise funds for the animal shelter that means so much to us all. The crowd erupted in cheers, and Brad felt a rush of adrenaline. We have games, food, and a talent show lined up. Let's make this a night to remember. As the festivities kicked off, Brad watched as people mingled, laughter ringing out like music. He felt a sense of fulfillment wash over him, knowing that they were making a difference. The joy in the air was palpable, and he couldn't help but smile at the sight of Polka dancing with children, his massive frame moving gracefully to the rhythm of the music. Look at him go, Lila exclaimed, her eyes wide with admiration. He's a natural. Brad chuckled, his heart swelling with pride. He really is. I'm so glad we decided to do this. As the night progressed, the talent show began, showcasing the diverse skills of their friends. From singing to juggling, each act brought laughter and applause, weaving a tapestry of joy. Chapter 10. Chapter 10. Brad's happy ending. The sun hung low in the sky, casting a warm golden hue over the whimsical landscape that had become Brad's new reality. Just days ago, he had been a carefree dreamer, lost in a haze of laziness and daydreams. But now, after a series of unexpected adventures with his unlikely companion, Polka the dancing elephant, he had discovered something profound. Happiness was not a destination but a journey, one paved with connections and laughter. As they stood at the edge of the vibrant village square, Brad felt a surge of excitement. The air was thick with the scent of freshly baked goods and the distant sound of laughter echoed through the streets. He turned to Polka, whose large, expressive eyes sparkled with anticipation. What do you think we should do today? Brad asked, his voice brimming with enthusiasm. Polka's trunk curled playfully as he replied, let's spread some joy, my friend. We've got the magic of friendship, and it is time to share it with the world. Brad nodded, his heart swelling with purpose. They had come so far together, overcoming challenges that had tested their resolve and deepened their bond. Now, with the curse of rhyming behind them, they were free to express themselves in ways they had only dreamed of. As they strolled through the village, they were greeted by familiar faces. Friends they had made along their journey. A group of children ran up to them, their laughter ringing like chimes in the breeze. Brad. Polka. Can you show us some of your dance moves? One of the little girls exclaimed, her eyes wide with excitement. Of course. Brad replied, his spirit ignited by their enthusiasm. He and Polka took center stage, and as they began to dance, the world around them faded away. The music of their laughter intertwined with the rhythm of their movements, creating a symphony of joy that enveloped the village. Polka twirled and spun, his massive frame surprisingly graceful, while Brad matched his energy with a series of quirky, exaggerated moves. The children clapped and cheered, their faces alight with delight. In that moment, Brad realized that this was what happiness felt like. Pure, unfiltered joy shared with others. After their impromptu performance, the children begged for more. "Can we have a dance-off?" one boy shouted, his cheeks flushed with excitement. Brad exchanged a glance with Polka, who nodded enthusiastically. "Why not? Let's make it a celebration." The village square quickly transformed into a makeshift dance floor, with onlookers gathering to witness the spectacle. Brad felt a rush of adrenaline as he faced off against the children, their energy infectious. They danced with abandon, each move a testament to their carefree spirits. As the sun dipped lower in the sky, casting long shadows across the cobblestones, Brad felt a sense of fulfillment wash over him. He had come to understand that happiness was not just about personal achievements but about the connections he forged with others. "Let's take a break," he called out, panting slightly. The children flopped onto the grass, giggling and catching their breath. Polka plopped down beside them, his large body creating a small hill of fur and warmth. "Brad, you're the best," one of the girls said, her eyes sparkling. "You make everything fun." Brad felt a blush creep up his cheeks. "It's not just me. It's all of us together. We're a team." As they sat in a circle, sharing stories and laughter, Brad couldn't help but reflect on how far he had come. The journey with Polka had taught him the importance of friendship, creativity, and being true to oneself. He had once been a dreamer, but now he was a doer, ready to embrace whatever came next. Suddenly, a familiar voice broke through the laughter. Well, if it isn't my favorite duo." It was the witch, her presence both enchanting and unsettling. She approached with a playful grin, her long, flowing robes shimmering in the fading light. "Witch Hazel!" Brad exclaimed, a mix of surprise and delight flooding his senses. "What brings you here?" "I couldn't resist the sound of joy echoing through the village," she replied, her eyes twinkling with mischief. "I've been watching your journey, and I must say, you've both come a long way." Polka tilted his head, curiosity evident in his expression. "Are you here to cast another spell?" Hazel chuckled, shaking her head. "No spells today, my friends. I'm here to celebrate your success. You've broken the curse, and I believe you've learned valuable lessons along the way." Brad felt a warmth spread through him. "Thank you for giving us that chance. It changed everything." "Ah, but it was your willingness to embrace the journey that truly made the difference," Hazel said, her voice softening. "You've shown that happiness comes from within and from the connections you make with others. That's a powerful lesson." As the sun dipped below the horizon, casting a kaleidoscope of colors across the sky, Brad felt a sense of closure wash over him. The witch's words resonated deeply, and he realized that their adventures had not just been about breaking curses or winning competitions. They had been about discovering who he truly was. "Let's throw a party," Brad suggested suddenly, his excitement bubbling over. "We can invite everyone. Our friends, the kids, even the rival duo. Let's celebrate everything we've learned." Polka trumpeted in agreement, his enthusiasm infectious. "A grand celebration it shall be. We'll dance, bake, and share stories until the stars twinkle above." Hazel raised an eyebrow, a sly smile playing on her lips. "A party, you say? I might have a few magical surprises up my sleeve to make it even more memorable." Brad's heart raced at the thought. Really? That would be amazing. As they began to plan the festivities, the village square transformed into a hub of activity. Friends rallied together, bringing decorations, food, and music. The air buzzed with anticipation, and Brad felt a sense of belonging he had never experienced before. As night fell, the square glowed with lanterns and fairy lights, casting a warm, inviting glow over the gathering. Laughter and music filled the air, creating a tapestry of joy that wrapped around everyone present. Brad stood at the center of it all, his heart swelling with gratitude. He watched as Polka danced with the children, their laughter ringing out like a melody. The rival duo had joined in, their competitive spirits replaced with camaraderie as they shared stories and jokes. "Hey, Brad!" one of the boys called out, his face lit with excitement. "Can you show us that move you did earlier?" Brad grinned, feeling the energy of the crowd. "You mean this one?" He launched into a series of exaggerated dance moves, the crowd erupting into cheers and laughter. As the night wore on, Brad found himself surrounded by friends, their faces illuminated by the soft glow of lanterns.